surprises up there. I mean, just from watching, I saw one man, Bruno Martini. He looked like he'd found some form here. I mean, also we saw Chris Carney in one of his first finals we've seen for a while. You didn't have such a good one, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, it wasn't really that mighty race. I mean, it's really, really light, really on the edge. You gotta dial everything perfect. There's no margin for error. And then if you have a little bit of a decent start, you're already quite back of the pack. Because it's so light, it's very hard to pass people on straight, neither the jibes. And then some people were on their day, and then they got a little bit lucky, and boom, they got one of the best races of their lives. And some people who would do really well were just like on the results that were not expected. So the lighter it is, I believe there's more surprises, there's more unexpected things that happen.
Yeah, no, totally. We saw Pierre Mortefon going out early. I think Cyril Musselmani was pretty, much out early. Some of these guys, and it was on the edge the other day. I saw a few races, especially around that first jibe mark.
Yeah.
I think maybe in even your race, there was a few guys struggling to get going on the straight.
It took me, like on my race, the first jibe, I'm pretty sure once I finished my jibe, it took me about like literally 15 seconds to get really going. So it's really on the edge, and you got to time the pumping right, and you can get lucky, or you can get really unlucky as well. I was going fourth, and my second jibe, although I was leading actually somewhat comfortable, there was no wind at all, and maybe I pumped 20 to 30 times and just get it going, but it wasn't enough, and light guy passed me through the inside. So you gotta have I want to say more of a luck in the light winds, and then just start good and stay up there. I mean,
there was definitely something for the swell. You could see the swell. I mean, sometimes you'd get unlucky and you come around the jibe mark and it was kind of flat. And that was a dangerous thing, because then you'd get swell catching you up and it was difficult to get going. But the guys who came around with swell, just killing it.
Yeah, like I was, after my race was done, I was watching on live stream some of the leading guys. And some guys would just catch the swell, whether it's on purpose or kind of luckily, and they would just keep going. And I would see really good jibes, really holding the sail in the right place and still struggling to get it going, just because if you cannot really perfectly time it, your nose just gets kind of stuck, and you just kind of have to drift that board through and get it planing. And that's a harsh thing to do when it's 6-7 knots on the edge and you have this weight of the sail, and your adrenaline is rushing and you got to be focused, and it's quite challenging. I mean, light wind racing, I want to say, is just as challenging as one of those ridiculous high wind days we get, like places in Fuerteventura and stuff. So
yeah. I mean, speaking of that, you've had your better results this year from what I can remember in the windy stuff. So Korea, we had quite a bit of wind in Korea. You had decent competition, started off the year with a decent result. Obviously, you finished your studies now and you're concentrating fully on windsurfing. What's your favourite kit this year?
Well, I definitely, what I'm realizing is I may have to make a little bit of a mistake of registering my large board a little bit smaller side. I'm on the 120, and in starboard, I'm probably the heaviest guy on 120. I believe the reason the events that I've done not good are all light wind events, and I believe this has a little bit of a correlation to that. But the windier events, I was much better. I won like 3 heats in Fuerteventura. That's something I've never done in the previous years, and on 87 or like 7-0 conditions. I was racing really well in Korea. My speed was really good. So I know I'm good. And even, I want to say, on like locations where it's 8-6 and not necessarily that windy, I'm still really good. But all the events that I have done not so well, it's like 9-0 and on the edge racing. And I know that's probably my least favorite combo. And I've kind of got punished on that. In Turkey, the whole time I was on a 9-0 and a big board. Costa Brava, the whole time, 9-0 and a big board. And in here, 9-0 and a big board. Honestly, I mean, if I can get on the 8-6, I'm already 100% well confident that I can, push the limits. But with that 9-0 and that edgy racing and a bit of a small board, I think I have a bit of a disadvantage, and I pay the dues for that. Next year, I won't make that mistake. I'm actually really excited for next year, because I know if I would have just dialed my light wind results a little bit better, I would have already pushing top 16. So I know what I'm capable of. I know I had a much better training this year, and even better it will be next year. So I'm just excited. Yeah.
Are you going to go to New Caledonia?
Yes, I will be going to New Caledonia. I want to notch into that top 20 spot and then see what happens. But I'm most excited. It's a quite beautiful spot. And then luckily this year school is not bugging me with all these assignments and stuff. So I'm all excited. I'm all for it, and I'll be in Caledonia as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it was my first time, well, watching the race never. I've been there a long time ago, but that place just delivers wind. So it should be an exciting finish to the year.
Yeah, like I remember last year, I couldn't go to the event, and I was in US, and we put on live stream to the TV, and we were watching in our living room at our house, and I was like so bummed that I couldn't go because, you know, it's one of those events that is just neck to neck, you know, choppy racing. This is what PWA is about, you know. It's that excitement. It's that proper wind and windsurfing racing. And I was really disappointed on myself that I couldn't go and miss such an event. That was my disappointment on. So this year, I'm excited. I can't wait to be there.
Yeah, I have to say, for me as a commentator, it's really good to end on an event like that. And we really ended last year on a knife edge. You know, it was so close between Cyril Musumani, Antoine Albo.
Last day almost.
To the last race of the last day of everything was just come down to it. And in the end, obviously, Antoine Albo took another title. Yeah. This year, I mean, looking at the wind at the moment, we're sitting with the rankings. We've got Matteo Iachino, he won the elimination here. Antoine Albo finished third. And with that, if that was the final result here in Sylt, we'd actually go into New Caledonia with Matteo leading the tour ahead of Antoine Albo. Wow. So we're set up again, and Pierre Mortefond not far behind. You know, it's going to be a really interesting end to the year. And obviously, we don't want to jinx it just yet, but we should guarantee some wind in New Caledonia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jinx it. That's probably the worst spot to jinx it, man. It's so hard to get there. But to be honest, back of my head, I'd never really have a doubt. I think we'll get something there. I hope we get what we got last year. I think everybody's hoping for that. Nobody's really hoping for a light win. So, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure we'll see some changes and stuff. Caledonia is a big event. That's a big discard as well. So the rankings will go quite up and down after Caledonia once we have a proper racing day as well. So it's all excitement. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, that should be it. So how many events that would be when we get to New Caledonia?
I think it's 6, no?
Okay, so we still only have one discard.
Yeah, we still have the one discard, but maybe some guys not going, some guys staying, and depending on what kind of conditions we get there, I believe this is going to be the most significant change on the ranking as per event, I want to say. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited, and I'm hoping for that 7.8, 7.0 medium choppy conditions. That makes me excited, and I know I'm good at it, so I want that.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I mean, I grew up watching slalom racing like that, you know, Bjorn going head-to-head, Kevin Pritchard, you know, in Fuerteventura, in wherever. I mean, we had Aruba and all these, you know, in Greece, I think they had some really windy events as well. So it's really good to see events like New Caledonia back on tour. I mean, you're obviously going this year, so... you've obviously got some good sponsors. It links us into a...
it's a bit of a financial hurdle to go up there for a lot of guys. I mean, it's definitely not cheap at all. But being part of the tour, you know, I always get a sense that it's part of it. You have to be a perfect racer. You have to be good at what you do eventually. Otherwise, you wouldn't even survive on the tour. But I believe the part of it is being fiscally business-oriented and just knowing the fact that the life support of this sport is also sponsorships, you know, financial management, because it's a quite expensive sport to keep up with in terms of traveling, handling your athlete needs. So I believe sponsorships plays a huge role, a very important role. And I have a feeling that some guys pay really well attention to their training, but not as much as well attention to their business side of things. And I believe that attitude and culture has to change a little bit, because in today's world, the financial support is linked to a lot of quality training and stuff. So if you have good sponsors, you can go events all comfortable. You can go more trainings. You can have more proper equipment, so on and so forth. So yeah, I totally believe in having good sponsors and knowing what to do to get them. And I believe that's a very important link towards your success in the sport and in the world ranking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you say, if you've got some money, you've got good backers behind you, you've got financial help, you can do the right training, you can do the right stuff. And that is becoming obviously harder because windsurfing isn't a big sport. I think visually it's one of the best sports in the world. I'm a little bit biased.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I'm just as passionate as you are. It's underrated, I want to say, the way it looks. You know, it can be a next America's Cup and be popular just as much. The visual is stunning. There's like 8 guys going over 50, 60 kilometers an hour and cornering and jibing like there's nothing, and it's on the water. Wind is unpredictable. The water is uneven, and we're just racing like it's flat concrete. So, to me, that's exciting. That's kind of in a way pushing the human levels. We are out there on an environment that is not necessarily the most comfortable, which is water, and racing on it, not falling down. I don't know, when you think about it from that basic perspective, it's just amazing what we're doing. But again, just kind of like the sponsorship, you can have all the talents you want, but if you don't have the right packaging of marketing and presenting who you are, all that power is basically useless. Yeah. Just like this sport can be in a much, much better place. It was really well packaged, or some people maybe put more business thought through it, and package it to be a more commercial, let's say. Yeah. So it's actually the same ideology. It's just wherever you put your energy, that's what you're going to get the benefits of.
Yeah, I mean, visually wise, I always say it, and I'm going to go on I might go on a bit of a rant here, so I apologize. But I mean, windsurfing wise, it's quite a unique sport that we're actually like carrying around a big billboard pretty much, which sponsorship obviously can be used on. Mm-hmm. But going back to the actual windsurfing itself, the variables, I look at it compared to any other racing. The money is obviously in horse racing and dog racing, this sort of stuff, but it's just a grass track that they chase a rabbit around or something. And obviously there's a lot of money in to do betting and do this. But with windsurfing, you really think anything can happen. You've got waves, swell, even in the light winds, when people are stopping out of jibes and getting going. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that, but as a commentator, I actually don't mind it. As long as the first guy isn't just getting nailed because there's no wind, there's definitely ways of looking at this. I'm going to bring this back to sponsorship. You've just about to drop a new video. Mm-hmm. It's a sort of promo video of you and your new sponsor, but it's got some pretty cool visuals in there.
Yeah, so basically the story behind that is when I was growing up, I was basically, the moment I started windsurfing, I was keen onto it. And then I remember like I was windsurfing 7-8 hours a day till my hands were bleeding, and I was a super stoked kid. And I started when I was 12, and over 14, I started to race, started to do well, get some results on nationals, won the national championship in Turkey. And 2005, 2006, it was just build up years. And then around 2006 year was like the realization that now, in order for me to do this full power, do it internationally and get proper result, I really need some support, and then I was super lucky and then super fortunate enough to find this sport club. It's called Arkas Sport Club. And that's basically, Arkas is a big logistics and then a commercial company in Turkey, one of the biggest. And they're the biggest in my city. It's called Izmir. And then they also have their sport club. They have a volleyball team, they have a sailing team, they have swimmers, they have all kinds of athletes. And then at that time, they had also a sailing team, which they accepted me to be a part of as a windsurfer. So our story kind of started in 2007. And since then, both financially and emotionally and mentally, they've been the biggest supporter of my career since then. We've been having an amazing relationship since 2007. And we basically every year build up upon that. I don't even look like them as like they're my club members or sponsors. I kind of looked at them as my family. Whenever I ask for advice, I ask it as like if I would ask a family, So they've been an amazing supporter. They supported through my injuries. They supported through my ups. They supported through my downs, and we cherished everything together. And it's been an amazing journey. Not only they helped me build up my windsurfing career, but throughout working with them, I learned so much from them. It's been also an amazing, actually, business experience for someone as young as I am to have that such a great experience, And then they also have an amazing sailing team, which in the video you'll see. They have this amazing sailing boat, and then it's all graphic. And actually, my van in Turkey is graphic the same way, so it's pretty cool. And then one day I was just thinking, wouldn't it be amazing to get the sailboat on a windy day? Then I go next to them. We get a helicopter up and we just do an amazing shoot. It's just because when you put it to scale, I'm so much smaller over them. It's a huge sailboat. And we kind of had this idea, and throughout their marketing process and stuff, we thought, hey, it's actually a quite decent idea. We went back and forth, and we didn't know what we were gonna get, and we kind of just shoot for it. And then the photos and the videos turned out amazing, so we were super stoked about it. Now recently we just finished up the editing of the video, so for the first time here on PWA, and no one ever really saw it, we're just gonna put it out there. We hope people enjoy it. It's a quite unique video. We wanted to think a little bit out of the box and just make something different. So it's basically sailboat and a windsurfing, and I don't know what you can think about it, but you will see it in the video.
Cool. Okay, well let's take a look at the video. Enes and a massive yacht.
Yeah. Enjoy, guys.
Okay, so there you go. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, how was that, sailing with such a big boat? I mean, it's quite funny because we have seen shots like that. I mean, when I was growing up in the magazines, I remember this big catamaran, and was it Anders Brigdale or Beale? I don't know. There was a similar thing a long time ago. It's kind of cool to sort of recreate that, but actually put the video out.
I mean, basically, so like sports like ours and then the sponsorship relations, it's not about direct customer return or something like that. It's about creating stories, and I always like stories. I always like something unique, and then putting together elements that you would never thought of. So when I thought about, or I was brainstorming about this video, I was thinking, how amazing is this? Here's this very successful company in Turkey, and they created this amazing sport club. Then they created the crew of amazing sailing racers that runs that boat, and they also have a world champion windsurfer from Turkey that travels all around the world. And now you see a video and photos of that two stories, two efforts coming together in a beautiful windy day, and they're just enjoying the water, enjoying the wind. To me, this combination, you cannot artificially create it. It's unique. There's a story behind it. That photo speaks for itself in a way, So to me, that's what's unique. And that's why it makes me so happy to see that video. And, there's maybe 20 people involved in that video, has all different backgrounds, and here we come together for this really unique photo shoot. And that's why I was just brainstorming about it, and I was just losing myself. I was like, oh, this is so cool. We got to so do this. The helicopter on the top. We also got a couple of people taking photos from the boat, on another boat. And then overall, it was just an exciting day. It was really cool. We didn't know what to expect, but it turned out amazing. And then I'm just super stoked about it, and I will look forward to doing more interesting out-of-the-box projects like this.
Yeah. How are you going? I mean, it looked like you were pretty fast there. I mean,
yeah, that day was like 25 plus knots, and I was on a 7-0 and barely holding it. So I actually have like runs just by myself alone, and I saw the videos of that, and I was going probably like 60 plus kilometers, and I was cruising. I gotta admit, for the sailboat, I had to slow down a little bit, not to be unfair. They're also quite fast, but I had to slow down a little bit. And then, but it was amazing. I also had some really good takeoff pictures right next to them and stuff. So like I said, really interesting, really cool project, and I look forward to doing more stuff like that.
Yeah, cool. I mean, for me, it just shows windsurfing as it should be. You know, it's a small in comparison to the massive boat, but the speed and power you're getting, it's kind of just a cool comparison.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's amazing the both sides. One side is they're going such speed at that huge boat, and when you think how much drag you have on the water, it's amazing that they can get that sailboat going tilted like this and going that much speed. Or the vice versa, it's amazing on that much wind. We're on this tiny little board and going 60 kilometers an hour, all in control, wherever you want, whenever you want. And it's just mental, you know, it's so cool. And this is pretty much what's unique about these sports. And you know, we live our daily lives and here's this crazy stuff happening on the water. So it's cool to put it in a perspective and share it on a video like that.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Let's have a chat about sponsorship.
All right.
I always like speaking to you about sponsorship. I get asked about it a lot. I was speaking to a few guys. Over to my CEO, I always pick your brains because you're pretty good at it. And you've obviously been studying. You were studying...
I studied business in Texas A&M University in Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay. So, I mean, it's obviously not just that gives you this knowledge. You have to have the brain and the thinking, and you said you're already thinking of projects. If someone's they're trying to get onto the world tour, they're a good national sailor, you know, they want to get some sort of sponsorship. And obviously sponsorship comes in different sizes. Obviously, we're not going to go straight jump up to the elite sponsorship, but you've got to start somewhere. What advice would you give to someone sort of trying to get their first basic sponsors? Obviously, you've got to be a certain level, but sometimes it can be just someone might support you just for doing the tour or trying to break onto the tour to help you out. And then there's different levels. Some people support you for getting results and vice versa. Maybe you can just give us a few tips.
Well, absolutely. First of all, presenting yourself is number one priority. Just like in any other business, when you go somewhere to gain their business or sell a product, you have to look like you know what you're talking about. You have to know yourself well, or what you're presenting. In this case, you're in a way selling yourself. So you have to know that really well. And what I try to do with my relations towards my sponsors is I try to work with companies that in a way I have some sort of connection to them. Like example, Arcus is a logistics company. Their business is in water, in boats, in a basic sense. They have a sail club, and that represents that. You know, they have a heritage in the water, and I'm part of that sailing club. I'm part of that sailing lifestyle and attitude. And also, I'm an athlete, and I'm under their sailing club as an athlete. So there's a connection there. But with things like Turkish Airlines is now one of the biggest airline companies in the world, and they're going fully promoting themselves internationally. So I'm there doing a windsurfing sport on the highest level in the world and traveling international. There's a connection there. So I'm gonna come back to this again, but you gotta kind of find some sort of a story and connection. And then when you go somewhere, I don't know, it can be things like the owner might like sailing or water sports too. The brand has some sort of connection to water or surfing. Anything like that. You got to find a little catch.
Natural power, you know, you brings in the sort of, JP Jewel, I suppose.
Exactly. And then I believe whatever you're presenting, you got to incorporate their essence to your presentation so that it shows them there's something in this sport that is for them. So that's that. So that's what I like to do. Like, I don't just go companies, here's my sponsorship folder, sponsor me. That 99% of the time never works out. Like I said, you got to kind of tailor your pitch a little bit towards that company or person you're talking to. You got to see what you can offer them, cool projects, videos, or your image being so unique that you can market yourself and you can kind of make them be a part of that story. Then it becomes unique. Then your story of being from Turkey, going United States to study, getting a green card there because of your success in windsurfing, and now traveling all around the world, living in 2 countries. That's the story. And then if you can incorporate your sponsorships into that, then it becomes a natural deal rather than like, oh, give me this, give me that, let's make a sponsorship kind of a more artificial thing, you know? That's kind of my perspective on it.
But I think it makes total sense. You know, you hear people say, oh, what about Coca-Cola? And you think, well, how does it all fit in, you know? And I always think like this, and it's like with my sponsors, you have to try and find there's a connection. Okay, sometimes you can be lucky. The guy in the company, the CEO, whatever, is a windsurfer, or you know, likes windsurfing, or that's, you know, and they might even want you to do a few talks about winning, or you know, and that can also be a separate thing. Okay, it's not windsurfing sponsorship as people would know it, where just people give you money to go windsurfing. You have to do a bit of work, but it will be very well paid work, and it is like a sponsor, you know. So they pay you over the odds to do some talk in front of some, I don't know, you know, employees or whatever. It can work in different ways. When you're going into a meeting, okay, firstly, I'm asking this for myself. No, but I'm thinking, you're trying to get, how do you get to speak to these guys? You know, you've picked your company, you've associated, I say Mercedes-Benz. Okay. So, you know, Mercedes-Benz at the moment, they're sitting in Sylt, they've got a load of vans down there. Yeah. They obviously want to be connected with windsurfing. How do you get to speak to them in Turkey?
It's actually a bit of a hilarious story, but I'm actually not pushing, but I have an idea of getting a sponsorship in where I live in Texas from a Mercedes dealership. So I'll tell you what I'm doing. I haven't succeeded yet. Hopefully after this interview, I will succeed. So my tips are actually somewhat of accurate. But basically, let's say I brainstormed it, and it turns out that getting a sponsorship from a Mercedes can be a good idea. Why? Mercedes through Germany, has somewhat of a connection to windsurfing. They have great vans, which is a lot of the windsurfers utilizes these days. And also vans can be incredible promotional tool. If you wrap them up, then it becomes a driving billboard all around the city, and then something that catches eye, because you don't see vans driving around with a huge windsurfing sail on it with all kinds of cool sponsors and graphics. So that's unique. So for example, with that, the Mercedes dealership is owned by one of the biggest dealerships in Texas, in where I live. So basically, the most basic way to connect with companies like that is just send them an email. Hey, this is my name. This is what I do. I have a proposal or a folder. Can I set up a meeting or send it via email? Depends on the company and things like that. But that doesn't necessarily have the edge to do it. Just like finding a story, I always like to find connection in some sort of personal level. So what I would do is generally I would research the old management. See if I can find someone that I might know, or if I can find someone that one of my friends might know. In this case, I have actually briefly met with the owners of Mercedes-Benz, but I had a friend who was very good friends with them. So I actually kind of asked him to be a reference to me and say, this is a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. Giving him a 10-minute of a chance so he can go and present himself. So in this case, that's what I did. And when I go back, I'm most likely going to meet with them. So try to get a personal connection in there, because face-to-face always beats it. You know, we're in the technology times, but still all the businesses are getting done face-to-face. You got to be there, and you got to present yourself well. You got to be ready. You got to be focused. That's what I would do. And things like this is, I have taken pictures of Mercedes stands here, how they're promoting, how they're using it. So when I go back to Mercedes, not only I tell my concept to them, but I also show them what's being done. So that it's harder to sell something that has never been done. But if you sell them something that is kind of proven, it just makes the business and then decision making go much easier.
So you're just trying to create their vision so they can see it. It's like when you got an empty house, some people can see the vision, other people can't. And these days you get a computer-aided graphics now, and you say, well, this is what it looked like. And then we'll go, oh, I'm taking it.
Absolutely. You gotta definitely make them see it in their head, or how it's gonna be, and also you gotta also make them feel about it. And then, you know, if you're passionate about things that you sell or things you do, and if you're good at telling them, you will make people feel about them. And that has a big part in it as well, for things to go. If you go there, you're all like kind of down and you're just talking all numbers and cents, they're just going to be like, it's just another business meeting or presentation. But if you go there, just kind of shake them up and you go, this is my project. I'm excited. It's a great idea. Here's the facts. Here's how it's done. We're going to do this. It's going to be amazing. Here's the results I'll give you. Your excitement will be transformed to them. And all of a sudden, you will see their reaction being much more personal, and they will feel connected to your story. And that's, I believe, how you make the sale And by sell, I mean that's how you make sponsorships happen. That's how people believe in you. That's how we can kind of work with companies. And also this attitude will help you maintain all those sponsors throughout years. All my sponsors are long term. My sport club, it's 8 years. Turkish Airlines, 6 years. I was with JP and Nail Pride for 3 years, and now I'm on Starboard and Severn for 3 years. I had Quicksilver for 5 years. Now I have Hurley for 2 years. So it just, your attitude will also help you. Your perspective and your professionalism will help you maintain those sponsorships too.
Yeah, I think that's make a really good point there, because people don't want a sponsorship for 1 year. There's no use to them. It's no use to you. You've got to look, long term, and you have to sell that idea. And I think you make a really good point that you've got to make it exciting, because if you put the numbers of windsurfing in, yeah, they're okay, but they're not going to blow anyone away. We're never going to blow anyone away with numbers, but we can blow them away with the visuals, the vision. And if you've got that vision, you can sell them your vision, because I think we could go, we've been there in the past. People have had the vision. Yeah. Okay, that vision's gone down, but I think a lot of the windsurfers still have the vision, and it can be there. It just needs the right people to put it in place and to push that image.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's kind of funny to me. For example, we're at this event. If you guys seen the live streaming and seen the surroundings, look how many sponsors are begging to be part of this event. It's the same windsurfing concept that we do in Turkey, we do in Costa Brava. It's the same thing that we're presenting, but it's packaged totally differently. In here, it's a very professional event. It's very professionally divided. Everybody knows what they're getting, the sponsors. And the event is much more than a windsurfing event. It's a festival. And now, it's basically, this is how the rest of the event should be, in my opinion. And these guys are making it work. We never hear, Sylt might never happen next year. We never do that. And everybody knows we're going to be here next year. Why? Because these guys got this handled so well, packaged this so well. It's just going to work. It wouldn't make sense to not work it, So, there's examples. You don't have to be genius to create all this stuff. Just watch and learn from people who does it well. And I always had an idea to do a PWA event sometime in the future. And this is one of the events that I looked up literally 2 days ago. I toured around. I was just checking how they package everything, how it's organized. And that way I was looking at it, I was just amazed how professional these guys are. Everything is so well proportioned. Everything is so well represented. All the sponsors get all these kind of visuals. The location, the setup, it's just amazing, So if you want to be good at sponsorships, ask for people who does it well. And same thing, if you want to do something, present something well, look how the other people does it and kind of learn from that. It's actually a simple matter.
Yeah, I'm in. Where do I sign? No, but I think some really good points there, and for me, a definitely interesting chat. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, especially, the up and coming pros or the guys looking at it. I think they can gain quite a lot from that conversation. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming in for a chat.
No worries.
Nice new video.
Yeah, thank you very much. Always good talking to you. And then thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Let's fingers crossed. We're crossing our fingers. We will get some more wind. It could happen. Okay, so cheers for Enes to come in. We've got some no wind at the moment, as I've just said. There will be some sort of SUP race going on. More on that, just check out the live ticker. We're going to have more interviews this week. I know Robbie Swift, Marcelia Brown have asked me about showcasing a Chile video. We got Rick Genderos and Stephen Van Broekhoven talking about injuries, and obviously Stephen just come back from injury after he won that first event. And there's a few others on the card, so stay tuned to the live ticker. Even though there's no wind, we're going to bring you some interviews and some video action.